listen, welcome to the Manchester is Blue show. We've got Dante Friend from 1894 with us. Thank you very much for joining us. And an old stalwart of Manchester is Blue, Dan Halifax. How are we doing, lads? Are we okay?
Hi, Tom.
I'm all right.
Fantastic. So, Dante, we've got you on to have a chat to you. The real thing from my point of view, and what I want to get is a bit more. I want to get a bit more of an understanding about you, the group, the setup, where the group has come from. Obviously, you've had a little bit of a rebranding recently, which is fantastic. I love the logo, by the way. But what I do love is some of the stuff you're doing in the stadium, which I see every home game. So, fair play to the efforts you've got involved in. But do you want to take us through a bit of a history behind 1894, where it came from and why it came to be?
Yeah, sure. So 2013 against Newcastle, August, that was the first game that we actually did something, which was a Bert Troutman tribute and also a load of flags that we put out. There was a couple of reasons behind it. The atmosphere was kind of okay at the time, but it's been a bit more corporate over the years as we're going along. When we had the takeover, obviously the club is changing beyond recognition. So 1894 was a nod to the fact that we are Manchester City since 1894 and not 2008 or anything like that. So there's also, you can see in the stadium, there's like more fans, newer fans coming in who may not have supported us if we hadn't had the takeover. So there was kind of a bit of a need for the traditional fans to have a bit of a voice still, But we just wanted to try and improve the atmosphere. On the flip side of that, if you do something in the stadium, it does attract some attention where you're able to get your message across as well. So, for example, the club, for a long time, you weren't really dealing with fans. They had a group called Points of Blue in the old days, where it was kind of the same people going in. And I think even other organisations have had difficulties trying to get dialogue going with the club. And then you go on to things like Blue Moon website, a lot of people are going, why can't we get any information out of the club? So if we're doing something on the ground, the first thing the club want to know is, well, what are you doing? And there's a line of communication established already because they want to know that we're not going to put up something offensive or what are your plans? So whilst you're in there, you can say, oh, by the way, fans are saying this, fans are saying that. So it actually gives you a little bit of a platform for other people. So so now the idea is to try and... So 1894, we do two things. There are other groups in other clubs. So at United, they've got like Must, who do the politics side and ask about ticket prices and stuff. And they've got the other lot who go in the corner, kind of the Red Army. They'll do their banners and displays. Liverpool have two different groups, Spirit of Shankly and Spy and Cop 1906. And Everton have two groups, Gladys Street Boys and Blue Union. So we're trying to do both. We're actually trying to speak up, but also doing the display side as well. So we've actually got double the job. It's quite a big ask, really.
Yeah, it sounds it. What of the recent things you've been doing then? Obviously, we've seen the banner that's come out recently, but we'll talk about that in a bit more detail later. From the political point of view, what types of things you've been asked to talk about by the fans?
Well, political, I don't mean actual government, left, right.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are things that can be. Well, political, I mean like what's going on with the city support, really, and so. Whereas before, we've had things where we noticed what fans were saying on Twitter and stuff like that and try and carry the views of non-members as well as members. Because you get an element of fans who'll say, don't speak for us, we don't want you to say things for us. That's fine. So we just really concentrate on what our members are saying to us at the moment. And if people want to join in as well, brilliant, But at the moment, it's around fans not being in football stadiums. It's around a possible phased return of fans to grounds at some point. How are we going to get people in the ground? How do the club choose who goes in first? Are they going to base it on loyalty points? What are they going to do?
Yeah.
What about the transport side, the trams, the bars, the concourses? I was in the Trafford Centre today and there was a one-way system in place. The concourses in South tier 1 and tier 3, they're quite wide. So there maybe are advantages that we have over some of the older grounds. But there's a host of things which requires fan input. There was a report in one of the papers saying some guys trying to come up with this app where you give a pinprick and then you walk to the stadium and then it'll tell you whether you can go in or not, and are the club's going to pass costs on to fans so they can actually attend games. I mean, it's a massive turn-off. It's not anything that's been approved by health regulators or government bodies, you know, so there's all sorts going on that people might just assume fans are okay with that, and fans have been like really fed up the fact that this has happened, and their routines changed. You know, been going for I saw a report of one guy's missed his first home game in 51 years last night against Arsenal. You know, which is massive. You know, for people is everything. They don't have family, the friends, the whole social life is not just the 90 minutes. It's being out on the source all day, isn't it? You know, it's everything. So how do we get back to that stage where there's 55,000 in the ground again? It just seems a long way off. So actually, at this time, there's probably a good reason for fans to feed in and say, do you know what, we're concerned about this, that and the other. This is a good time to get organised.
Can you take me through, in my head, I'm just trying to build a picture of how the group's set up. In my head, tell me a bit about the group. If I were to join, if I were to become a member, how would I do that? What are the costs involved, and how do you communicate to me the questions that you want to put to City?
Yeah, sure. So traditionally, we'd had a paid membership, which has kept the membership down. Really, was 10 quid first, then it was 15 quid. But you get scarves, badges off the back of that, and then we'd make a little bit of a profit, which we then put back into displays. But we found it was a bit of a barrier to having a bit of larger membership. Although we have loads of people who kind of donate, or loads of people who would get involved in the day and do support us. But we want to get the membership up at this stage because that's also a way that you can that the club can't dismiss you. You know what I mean?
The voice.
So if you wanted to get involved, So if you wanted to get involved, you can just join. It's totally free to join. The Twitter page and the Facebook page all has the joining details. Obviously, the website is still down as 1894group.co.uk, but we've bought the domain for weare1894.co.uk as well, and there's a page on there for membership that you can join. Once you then join, you get a mail back to say, okay, you're in, and then you're onto a monthly mailing list. So you may have missed the June one, but obviously just with people are in our group going back to work, so people are just busy. But as things go along, if you had any suggestions or any ideas, so for example, today somebody mailed us and said, you know, we want to do a David Silva tribute for the last home game of the season. How we go about that, you know, maybe something outside the ground. How we do that when the gates were up outside, you don't know. But people suggest things all the time, which we can just ideas. When we did the ship inside the stadium, that was an idea from a supporter. Let's try a different type of display. So the thing is, we do like monthly surveys, and that could be what we've been up to, or what are you thinking. So the last survey went out, which was to do around price of season tickets. Under 25s have their own kind of ballot section at away games, but we treat under 21s as the cut-off point for home games. Given people are going to be struggling maybe in the next few months, it could be that the season tickets aren't the same this year anyway. Are you in favour of extending this to up to 25s? Are you in favour of giving key workers tickets? Because you know what affects the atmosphere is when there's empty seats in the stadium. When there's like 10,000 empty seats in the stadium, which there are, you know, the atmosphere does suffer. So we want we want as loud atmosphere as good as possible. The best thing we can do is get everybody in the stadium, because then you've got more chance of the songs carrying, because there's more people in the stadium. So anything that will allow the passionate City fan, well, we know there's tourists there now, but the passionate City fan to continue to go, and they've had 9 or 10 price rises in 10, 11 years. I think there was 1 year where there was a freeze. you know, it's a big ask that the club's got richer, but the fans haven't, you know. So we just want to make sure that people can still go to games, you know.
Who are you? Who's your? Don't give me names, obviously. What department do you liaise with at City?
Yeah, so we officially are only supposed to liaise with like the events team. So there's a few people who deal with the events team, and over the last 7 years, there's been like 9 different people who've moved on. Some people are still there. There's Karen Proctor, person called Anna Palla, Nick Becker, who went off to Melbourne City. Some people have come and gone. There's a number of people who are still there, been there a number of years, that we've built up a bit of an understanding with. So there's different sides of City, because they would turn around and say, well, you know, we just want to know what you're doing in the stadium. They'll have the official supporters club feeding into them, because they're like an official part of the organisation. We're independent. City Matters was obviously an elected thing through the programme where the club kind of meets them. So club would like say, well, we're obliged to meet. So the top people at the club, like Barada, Danny Wilson, I think Vicky Kloss, have met City Matters. We also have met people like Vicky very occasionally, but it depends what it's over. So there was one time we were going to do a display, which was kind of calling out some of the people in the press, and she was a bit unsure about whether that was to go ahead. So we did have a conversation about that. But at the same time, then we kind of got a few other points across, saying, you know, mate, you know, what would be the biggest kick in the teeth was if people who'd always gone can't afford to go. If we're doing something which is, I mean, if there are different departments, obviously the press office side, but they would normally deal with players. But obviously, if we're doing something with, so we did a donation last week to City in the community, and obviously we picked up some new contacts there. What the top people at the club will probably be wanting to know what we are doing, but they don't kind of want to be seen to be speaking to us directly. That's political as well. You can't, you know, we're a membership. We've got 1,200 members. The official sports club will have 20,000 members. Then you've got the Disabled Sports Association. You've got all different groups. You can't turn around and say, well, speak to us because this and that. You have to. We get a chance to put things across when we are having a meeting about a display. They'll say, what do you want to do for the next 5-6 games? What are your plans? And sometimes they'll say, we haven't got any money, we're not doing anything. Although sometimes we'll say, yeah, we're going to do something big for this game and that game. At the same time, things might come up from something the club's done, something that we've done. So yeah, sometimes there's a line of communication, but we don't, it's not as if we can sort of ring the top people at the club regularly or anything like that. That just doesn't happen.
It kind of feels like the senior managers will keep you at arm's length. They just want to make sure you're not doing anything that's detrimental to the business, or will bring legal action against the business, basically, which you can kind of understand that. Does the club help you financially?
No, the club offer. They do offer, but we don't. There was 2 things that they've done. So 2013, the first year, we did a display against Bayern in the cup, the Champions League. And that's at MCFC 1894, the North Stand. And because we're a bit short of money then, they went halves on us with that. A ship display, you remember, against Schalke. We did the ship. That was like $3,000. But we had the club had a load of foils that was used against Real Madrid. I think the year before in the semi-final of 2 years before in the semi-final of the Champions League, there was 5,000 foils over. So we had a plan where we were going to have people to hold up these things to the sea. And they said, actually, if we've got these things you can use, so that saved us some money at the time. But no, I'm sure they'd like to try and buy us off. But that's the whole point of being independent. If we're not independent, then we can't say what we're going to do.
Yeah. No.
They took some control over some of the things we were doing. So in the early days, we were actually on the concourses selling flags. The whole reason these flags came up on a big scale was because we were selling them in the South Stand, £2 and £3, and we're not supposed to do that. We were supposed to just, you're not allowed to sell things in the club property. But we were it was a way that we could actually bring money back in, do a display, and then you've got a couple £100 back at the end of that day to put back in, so you can actually recycle the money. After a while, the club said, well, you're doing that. What we'll do is we can, we want, we're happy for you to do it on a larger scale, but we don't want you to sell on the concourse. So they put out some bins, and then we weren't allowed to hand these stick flags out. They brought in these PR people. I think it was a PR company that the club always use anyway. And they thought, well, we want to give out the flags, and it was that was out of our hands, because they thought if we're giving out to, if anything, it goes in the wrong hands, then it, we can't be held responsible for that. Do you know what I mean? We've handed it to the wrong people. There was an incident where I think a flag was thrown from 114 into a Liverpool or Everton fans or something like that sort of thing, but we weren't responsible for that. So that's why we kind of try and raise our money through scarves, badges, t-shirts. We have the GoFundMe pages. In the first year, we had like a phone app. So I remember there was a few of us who was against the Sunderland League Cup final. We handed out 15,000 cards at Wembley, and we'd done some songs recorded to try and get the old songs going, and then people would pay for downloads. So that gave us a base, you know what I mean? And we've also had people who kind of do us favours. So from the Madrid flag, you know what I mean? Obviously the guy doesn't want to circulate who was involved, but that was done as a favour. Even though it cost a fortune, it would have cost a lot more for trade. And obviously, people are on social media saying, oh, what's this money and where's it all going and stuff. But the guy's obviously got to protect his own business, because, we're getting something below trade costs. And that's he's doing it because he's blue and this, that, and the other. So we also use Poland, we use Ultrashot. But the club do give advice as well, which is sometimes it's daft not to take. So, like, for when we did the shit, we were doing the display just in our area, not in the whole stadium. But then we said, well, how are we going to make sure that people actually wave the flags? And then they said, well, when we tried Hey Jude, people just tend to sort of do it automatically. So they play that, and then it kind of all works at the same time. So so logistically, we've got a good relationship with some of the people at the club, because they want the same things as us, which is a really good atmosphere. They also pass on messages like, that's, we're saying that the prices are too dear for the Champions League or whatever it may be. And sometimes you get a result. They've had packages for the group games that's come right down. Some of the games have been brilliant. And then fans still haven't always bought the tickets, and that's not the club's fault. But sometimes they will pass the messages on, but, the messages will come back quickly. But it's, you're not supposed to ring X, Y, and Z at the top of the club. But logistically wise, they do help us. Advice wise, they help us. Provide us with a storeroom at the ground, provide us with accreditation so we can get in early, and give us access sometimes on non-match days to get everything organised and cleaned and stuff like that. And if we've got an idea, sometimes they might have tried something themselves and it's not worked for every reason. So there's things that you can talk about, which is good, because there's people there who've done organised big events for other organisations and they've got experience. So actually they let us do things, but sometimes they will come up with things and say, oh, try that or try this or don't try that,
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds very much to me as if you're kind of like a union. You're kind of like a union for the fans. So you kind of got the fans' best interest at heart, and you're working alongside the employer, the city, to basically get the best, because obviously they want the best and you want the best. You're kind of like the middleman to try and get the best for everybody, which is very admirable. So you mentioned you got 1,200 members at the moment. Obviously, you're looking to increase that. What we'll do is we'll put in the show notes. We'll put obviously a link to what you can get involved in and things like that. But I want to talk about the Madrid banner and the story behind that, and obviously the finances behind that. So take me through the absolute start of this and the conception of the idea, and right through to where we are now.
Yeah, sure. So obviously, Madrid was the UEFA ban came in about Valentine's Day, and then some fans contacted us and said, you know, are you doing a fundraiser because we'd like to do something for for that game. Obviously, we did it, and it went through the roof straight away. And we didn't do anything different to what we normally do because we do 3 or 4 fundraisers a season, and we've raised more than 8,000 in a season before. Not in one individual display, but we've raised more than that, before, and the money, and we've used the money. Car displays, ticket tape, everything costs money. It's a big thing. People don't realise that's a lot of money. And we obviously this was before the pandemic really got up to big levels. So the game was going ahead at the time. We had the away win first of all. We had to come up with an idea that we thought was going to be suitable, whether it was a win in Madrid or a defeat in Madrid or whatever, had to be still suitable. What we normally do in the stadium is things for the people in the stadium. So the club said to us once, why do you do things in the south stand? Why don't you do things in the east stand? Because the TV cameras will see you when the players come out, etc. So, well, because we want to do things for our end, which is that end. So we're not probably doing things for things on the TV. But with this game going like all around the world, and hundreds of millions of people going to see it off the back of the ban, it was designed with a TV audience in mind as well as the stadium. So we had a few people saying, can we have FUCK UEFA? We thought, well, that's not going to be shown on TV. There was a lot of people who didn't want that as well. So this is the thing. We knew that we couldn't please everybody. So we went for what's going to get the most attention to get the message across. And, we know it went round, even the other week, it went around the world. So we know that we got a result out of that. But we'd have liked it if everybody would have liked the display as well. Clearly, obviously, not everyone did. But that's fine. We understand that. But we would say that we got the message out to the biggest possible audience.
The problem is with anything like this, you get 100 people. You're never going to get all 100 people liking the same thing. So, it kind of is what it is, really, in that situation, isn't it?
In terms of the Muppet Show, it was a kind of a public humiliation of some of the UEFA people because why dress it up? People were upset and angry. These guys were the ones that were behind the ban. The 5, 6 the 5 on the panel. We didn't have that guy Laturn, but T-Bass as well also is pulling the strings from the head of La Liga. He doesn't want City to compete. And the Muppet Show was something that was a worldwide brand, really. So obviously a lot of people under the age of 30 probably never seen it and can't relate to it. But for the TV cameras in the stadium would have panned on that end, would have seen the detail on the people said, oh, well, cartoon or some guy with felt tips has written. If the guy who's done it is a professional, artist, he knows what he's doing. The detail's exceptional. So the detail would have been highlighted because there was a number of different things on there. So yeah, doesn't work if it's not in the stadium. Can't have the same effect. We're never going to. But we started to show people what we've done. It was their money. But in the stadium under the lights, the cameras would have had to stay on it longer because there was more detail on there. Because it wasn't like, oh, I can't see an offensive swear word straight away. But then they see the agenda is to stop City. Then they see there's little digs at the individual people. And people have said, about David Gill for years and years and years. Why would we not say this? This is what people have been complaining about for years. This is, Gill, this is his baby, isn't it? Financial fair play. So we think that it would have got more attention at the time. And then the pandemic struck, so we can't do anything about that. So we've already prepared the display, we've already paid for the display. And the thing is, we didn't add any media spec. We turned down all media requests at the time because we can't falsely implicate the club. Because at the end of the day, if we could have done 2 things. We could have turned around and said, right, okay, we've got a choice of fuck UEFA or something else. This is what we're going to do. We do the vote, etc., publicly, and then the people have decided this, that, and the other. Well, we did ask the donors. We're asking them what do they want to do, and obviously a lot of the messages came through with ideas. 2 or 3 of them came from donors. Power, Corruption and Lies was from a guy who I think donated about £5. FFP, Where Were You When We Were Shit, was from a fan.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that was a good one.
UEFA Mafia has been done before, but it was from a guy, City fan actually in Greece. There was a few different things. City v UEFA, we fight to the end. There was loads of different suggestions. But the Muppet Show would have been going to about 150 countries worldwide. It would have been picked up by the media in those countries. It would have got the message across. That's what people can't see. But that's fine. People don't have to like every single display, but anyone who wanted to contribute would have had a say in it.
Yeah.
Well, so at the end of the day, we had to pick something. We actually developed the Muppet Show idea ourselves because we think we would have had publicity if it's done in the stadium. When we've done these display GoFundMe things before, we're doing it all the time. People donate, and it's never an issue. But we've had some bad all the bad feeling from this has not come from our side. You know, you obviously run a professional podcast, and you know, fair play to you. I think there's a couple of other people out there that do City fans a disservice from another podcast who would, where's this money going? What's the black hole of finances? There's a number of things they've made, and I think they need to rein their egos in, because it was never 8,000 to spend, because nearly 1,000 went on GoFundMe charge in the first place. Once the banner was paid for, the May banner was paid for, we're still hoping that the game's going to go ahead, which means that there's some money over in the pot. So once the game goes ahead, you know, we could have used the extra money on other things for around the stadium. It's only when we've actually completed the display and aired it that display is now finished, and we can then turn around and say, well, of course we can't turn around and say we're going to do this with the display, because then the media turns around to the club and says, do you know this is happening in the stadium? If so, are you going to let it happen? In which case they've then got to either say, yes, we know it's happening and we're going to take a £750,000 fine, or no, we don't know what's happening and we're going to try and stop it. And it caused a problem. We felt that we're going to get it in, and we don't need to go into too much detail, but we felt we were going to get it in. And if we know we're getting it in, we just work in the same way, which is we work on the display, the money's come in, we've paid for it, and there's people who have got no real interest in what's happening, what we do normally, are questioning everything we do. But the donors who've donated over and over again are quite happy and have been kept in the loop, because we mail them all the time. We know what's happening with the display. And there was a guy, David Mooney, turned around and said, oh, Gary Tipper, who's this putting £500? If somebody wants to donate money to a display, that's their choice. They should have the right to choose if they want to put into the display. And Gary is a professional guy, well-known guy, managed a business. And he's backed us before. He's put money into displays before. If somebody wants to do that, they should be able to do that. If somebody wants to pay £2 a week to listen to another podcast, they have the choice to do that. But some of the stuff that's out there was actually making some of the City fans hysterical about it. It got to the stage where whatever we do with that money, some people would say, well, it could never justify the cost of the display. Unfortunately, we've had this pandemic at the same come out afterwards. So some people say, spending money on that, why can't you donate to charity? The money's already been spent. We've already put the money into the display long beforehand, you know, and stuff. And, you know, some of these groups abroad, their displays are fan-funded, and they're like, you know, they cost £10,000 or whatever and more. And that's the kind of, you know, we go abroad watching City and you see this amazing display. Well, Real Madrid had this great display against us at the other end in February. I mean, their fans are clubbing together to make sure there's a fantastic display in the stadium. Surely we want to get to that level, and that's what we're trying to do. So I'm sorry, but the bad feeling is not come from us. We've just done exactly in the same way that we normally do, and we were in a kind of a no-win situation because we can't please everybody. We've got a massive dilemma because we've got it's UEFA's stadium on the night, and we're going to call out UEFA, and we're going to probably cause the club hundreds of thousands of pounds of a fine, or possibly a stand closure or something like that. But at that moment, they've damaged us so much where they've actually closed the stadium, banned us for 2 years. People are absolutely livid, you know.
Did you just say you've been banned for 2 years then? Did I mishear that?
No, he's on about the UEFA ban.
Oh, right, sorry, right. I thought it meant something else. I need to ask you. Go on, sorry, Dan, go on.
I just want to jump in. I think I personally, I donated to it. I've been a member of the group for the last 2 seasons, and what people don't like, what Dante was saying then, it's right. It didn't have the same effect purely because we weren't in the stadium. Now, you think that banner getting unveiled, players are coming out, all City fans are booing the UEFA's anthem, lights are going, it had just been completely different. And people who probably don't know the case very well, just say fuck UEFA. We wanted to point, I mean, I'm guessing this is the same point, Dante, but you wanted to point out the members of UEFA who's doing this to us, not just UEFA, but actually calling out the heads of UEFA personally. So there's a name to them. Am I right?
Yeah, so that was the adjudicatory chamber. That's the 5 people we're going to go at. If you start,
that's what I mean.
we could have slagged off the clubs. We could have done something positive about. A positive message has got much more. People like a positive message much more than a negative message. If you put in a negative message now, which people wanted a big fuck off UEFA, that's the reason that we had more donations. We've raised a lot of money before, but there was more individual donations than you normally get, and people were saying, "We want you to take these bastards and show them up," and this is what they wanted to do. That's what they. That's the reason they didn't want to. They weren't donating because they wanted a picture of Aguero or Dickov, or they wanted to have something which was saying about the way that we're treated compared to other clubs.
Yeah, I was pissed off myself.
So yeah, I accept that not everyone would like the display. Totally. I know on a technical level, people I respect say to me, think it was too white. There was like not using the space. On a technical basis, you could say there was too many things going on. You could say, a short, sharp message is to the point, and we'd have preferred that. So the only thing I'd say was that I totally understand that, but we kind of done something on purpose to get more time on, that anthem's going. We think we're probably going to get 12, 15 seconds coverage on TV because, first of all, the director goes, "Oh, that looks interesting. Let's get that banner up." And then after about 10 seconds, they're going, "Right, let's get the camera off the banner." But by that time, we've already done the job, so...
Yeah.
Nothing, we kind of damned if we do and damned if we don't,
I think we all know that here. That if the problem we've got is because this wasn't, like you said, Dan, because this wasn't launched at the game in front of the lights on a brilliant night at the Etihad. It would have gone down 10 times better then, rather than on a field in where I don't know where you launched it. It was just
Tom. The banner was so big. It was going to be down from tier 2 down to the top of tier 1. It was so big.
I'm looking at it now. I can't believe
it. Remember, this was the first week where people can meet in groups of 6 even. Somebody said, "Why didn't you drop it off the town hall?" We couldn't. We could not do that. You can't just turn up in the middle of Manchester City town centre and try and invade a building and whatever. You get moved by the police. We tried a few places, and we tried looked at Castlefield Bowl even. You know how big Castlefield Bowl is? There's concerts there. That wasn't big enough, and also you couldn't do justice. So the only way we could do it is do it in another place with a drone, and the only way you can use that is in public parks. So of course we chose Heaton Park because it had a bit of a ridge halfway up, and you could get you could get the figures. But that's what got back pages of the newspapers, which then got us Sky, got us Channel 4, has got us publicity to actually argue on the fact of let's get fans involved with the return of fans to football. So that's all off the back of doing a display. There are positives which people don't oversee. Well, I'm sorry, there's a lot of people who, fair enough, they live their lives on Twitter, and that all they can do is 150,000 tweets. Now, they must have the phone in the hand all the time. Are easily embarrassed by a display. Well, okay, you didn't like it, fine. We're sorry about that. We hope you like the next one.
Yeah,
There's one idea that we've got, which is, again, I mentioned about a public vote there and this sort of thing. We're going to put it in the July mailer, actually. It's a different set of circumstances for another league game, but I mean, if we had the members come up with an idea for games, this is when we're all back in the ground, obviously. We've got an idea for this game, we've got an idea for that game. Let's say there was a David Silva tribute or something or other going on. you could put it on Twitter and say, right, okay, which one do you want? And then you've got that public backing to say, right, okay, if 80% of people have voted for that display, we do that display. No one can then say I didn't like it because we've done what everybody wanted. So the whole point of why we do it was supposed to be a bit of a secret. I wonder what they're going to do on the day. Maybe that's coming across like not very inclusive, because there is a bit of a school of thought, which is why we dropped the name group, which was maybe people think we can't be involved unless you're in 115 in the South Stand. That's not the case. But people maybe think, well, they're nothing to do with us, so we can't get involved. I think so. There are ways that you can try and include everybody, or include a larger number of fans. But unfortunately, the games are off at the minute.
Yeah. Question, and two questions, if I can. The first one is, what do the club think of this? And is there any opportunity to get that banner in the game if the game against Real Madrid is played at the Etihad?
Well, the second part of it, I don't think there is, because that's, the game at the moment, there's no fans behind football, and everything is a closed bubble in terms of, you must have seen, if you've not seen City TV or whatever it's called online, they've done the restart, and everything's they've been doing over the last few weeks. There's no way that fans can get involved. I mean, they did ask us do we want to put some banners in the seats, and we kind of said, well, we're conscious of some fans that can't, are against fans. Some fans are behind the closed doors football, so I think, we don't really want to condone this. It doesn't seem right. They did ask somebody else that we know who did a great job with some of the designs in the third tier last night, but there's no way that we can get something in there. To be honest, we did it because the CAS ruling, the court case was last weekend, wasn't it? The 5th, 6th, 8th to the 10th of June. So we thought we'll get it out that weekend, because that's when the media is going to be focused on it. So it's the next best thing we can get it out that weekend. Yeah. So obviously, the other thing as well, Tom, is the banner wasn't universally liked by City fans. It had a very good response on Facebook and Instagram. Twitter was one where people flagged it off completely. And we're thinking that Twitter also isn't a very focused platform, because it doesn't allow us to get a message. It's 140 words sometimes, and you can't actually get what you want to say across in one tweet. And if you spell something wrong or don't get it quite right, people remember it and then retweet it and this sort of thing. So it's just like a platform for people to slag everyone off on, and it's just stupid. Yeah, we stand our ground on there sometimes with people, but we don't want to. But it's just rugby sometimes.
Yeah, one thing I found with Twitter is, and in life really, if the person that shouts the loudest that isn't happy, you normally hear them. But the people, I guarantee there'll be more people that like it than people that are slagging it off. You'll always hear about the people that slag it off.
Yeah, well, we're spending a lot of time on this Madrid thing, but I said, it probably was a bit of negativity around it. But over the course of 7 years, I don't think there's been that much negativity about one particular game. But I mean, the circumstances, we're different, and those set of circumstances wouldn't come up again, but there's always things you can learn from it. And when people turn around and say, you don't speak for us, at the end of the day, that's absolutely fine. That we don't intend to try and speak for everybody. We want to speak to as many as possible if they want to, but we're still a little bit gutted if they say that, because I noticed that some of the names were from people who go home and away all the time, and we know them and stuff, and they're like, well, that wasn't what they were looking for from that display. So we do read the comments. The only thing I'd say is, even with some of the bad ones, there was kind of loads of likes and retweets even on Twitter from people there was more retweets and stuff than there was negative comments. So maybe there's a silent majority that still, the donors really have said that most of them will still pay for the next one and fund the next one to a big level. People are happy that we've kept them in the loop and understand that we can't please everybody. So. There's never been a trust issue with the people that know us the best. It's people on the outside that are just trying to make something out of nothing,
Yeah. Have you seen? I'd love to know what your stats are in relation to if you have increased in memberships in the last couple of weeks. That'd be interesting.
We have, but that's, I think, down to the fact it's free, nothing else.
Okay.
Because the most we ever had before was about 280, because people were paying like 15 quid. Of which we'd make about £5 ourselves. So we were doing a lot of hassle where sending out packs, sending out scarves and stuff like that. But we found that what we'll do is people join for free. We can then survey people. We've then probably got more of a chance of getting that database together. If people who want to go into a safe standing area at some point, we can, if the club say, right, we're ready to go, we can say, right, okay, here's a load of people that you can contact first. You know what I mean? And hopefully it's the right sort of people. But obviously if people want to voluntarily donate or buy a scarf, at some point we will get the shop side of the website going. But just one thing at a time. It's just quite busy at the minute. A few weeks ago we were all off work, and now one by one kind of guys have gone back to work, so there's less. I'm furloughed still at the minute, so there's me and a couple of guys kind of doing a lot at the moment.
Yeah, I feel that, mate. I'm doing exactly the same at the moment. I've never been so busy doing this Manchester Blue stuff in the last couple of weeks, but I've really enjoyed it though.
Perfecting it now, Tom. Perfecting it.
I'll streamline it. So what's the next plan for you guys then? What's the next step for you and your members?
Oh, so we just keep going, really. I mean, it's difficult because you can't get in the ground. I mean, obviously at some point fans will go back in the stadium. We just want to be there because so we think the best thing to do is to continue what we're doing, but maybe work in a different way, because like I say, if you put something on Twitter, people don't think it's sincere, even though we are trying to be sincere. The people are saying, well, you know, people on Twitter do things for likes, and they're judging us. I think some people are judging us for the same version, which is, well, you're just saying it for the sake of it, and it's not. We're putting in such a lot of hard work. You know, we've written to the club to say, so for example, this week we wrote to the club to say the City Liverpool game is behind. Is a neutral venue still? Okay, it's the one game that's still at a neutral venue, and so we wrote to say when that decision is being thought about again, which is taken by the police, the local council, and the safety advisory group, fans should have an input in there. No matter who they speak to, could speak to us, could speak to Kev Parker, could speak to City Matters, could speak to anyone, as long as they have some sort of input, because fans are saying us that if they want integrity, that game should be played at our place. You know, we had to go to Liverpool with VAR not working and lose 3-1, so Liverpool don't have this, you know, the same. You know, if we get that game's played at Southampton or Leicester, that's an advantage lost for us, isn't it? Not just that, it's seemingly treating football fans like they can't behave, like, oh, 3,000 fans are going to turn up outside the ground, and you know, it's bollocks. When you've had VE Day and you've had Black Lives Matter and you've had thousands of people congregating in the streets, and the government sending 250,000 people to Cheltenham and letting the Liverpool Atletico Madrid game go ahead, all of a sudden we can't be trusted as fans. You know, it's bollocks. The Scouse groups, they do go on the meetings with the advisory groups there before the Merseyside derbies, and this is a way in, we hope, because if City turn around and say, okay, we want to try and bring back 15,000 fans from January and then 25,000 fans from March, and you know, we as fans, we kind of want to know, well, okay, having a beer up, having a piss up on the concourse, or you know, making sure we can get to the toilets, and all these different aspects are an important part of the match day. What's going to happen? And sometimes fans can come up with suggestions or ideas that have been overlooked completely by, you know, some guy in authority because he doesn't really understand football fans. So that's a way in that fans can have it's very important that fans get a chance in shaping the return of fans to football, not like, right, we're going to make you take this test and you've got to pay 30 quid, and if you want to come back to watch football, that's the way it's got to be and no other way. So we think that if people join us, we'll be able to carry a much larger opinion to the club.
Yeah. And
hopefully that will get through. We can't ever guarantee they're going to listen or do exactly what they say, but we've done our job by passing that on. And like you said, Tom, a union, that's complimentary, that's very fair. A union is only as strong as how big the membership is and everyone pulling in the same direction. So, you know, you're weaker if, you know, the union is not looking in the same direction or doesn't have a very strong membership.
Do you need to be a season ticket holder to be a member?
No, not at all. No. So we've got citizens, members. We've got people who just go occasionally as well, like people watching the telly, or you know. So not everybody. Obviously, a lot of people will be season. You know, most of them are season ticket holders. But they're not all in the South Stand either. You know, so a lot of the people who who fund us might be in the north stand and other parts of the ground. So we know for a fact that they kind of like what we do, but maybe they don't want to move seats. They can't happy where they are with the families. They do like to watch displays for the other side of the ground.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the club will do their own display in the north stand, and it means that they also can't see our display. But the club's ground, they can do what they want, obviously. But, yeah.
I'm glad we're having this chat because you cleared up a few things for me. Not least because I had it in my head that 1894 group was very much of a, you need to be a season ticket holder. You need to be willing to help out and help. I didn't realise you were that big of a group. If I'm brutally honest, I knew you had a large voice. But
the numbers have shot up because it's free membership, though. That's something recent. But there's always been people who've involved, and people kind of join on the day. We could have up to 30, 40 people doing stuff on a day. That could be, if there's a drop down from tier 1, could be 8 people up there. It could be a couple of banners at the bottom of the south stand. Could be 6, 7 people each one on that. It could be 6 or 7 on telescopics. It could be people overseeing different jobs. You could have 30, 40 people, and then sometimes you're trying to tell people, finish your pint, come out now, and you can't always get it together because people end up getting sidetracked. So that's it. It's a bit of a labour of love, but there's a guy who's brilliant. So Trev is a guy that runs the displays. I do more the kind of the press side, the media side. There's a team that does all the displays, and there's a team that does the planning and administration side of things. Sorting out the singing section, sorting out the dealings with the club, sorting out. We've done occasional coach travel, but there was other group at times that tried this and then had quite a big membership, but it was short-lived. Talking of like Blue Alliance, we're putting on 4 coaches at times, but it was over in a year really, because if the membership, you don't know who you've got as members, then it'll just spiral out of control. So we've kind of gone very much the other way. The people that we were kind of sharing the information with were the people that were turning up at 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning to do a display in the rain, because they're the ones that are still doing it now. There's people who've been with us all the way through and kept going. So it's the right people. And it's not always people like 18, 21 years old. It's people in the 40s and the 50s and stuff who sometimes are involved as well, who just want to help out.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah, can't argue with that, pal. It sounds like you're onto a winner, and it's. I think it's vital what you do. From what you told me, to be that link between the club and getting up the atmosphere, and I think you're a credit to it. And where did the idea? I know you were talking about where it stemmed from, but was it just something you decided to do after wanting to just increase the atmosphere? Is that literally it? And you just decided things just.
Yeah, we thought we can get because. We wanted safe standing. We've done a lot of campaigning on that, and that's other clubs are benefiting from what we're doing. I can't believe we're behind United now. A club as corporate as that is actually being more proactive than we are. But yeah, so we were always in the. I used to go in the old Kipax standing, and then I was in Kipax lower for a bit. Then I went in the north stand at Main Road. It was quite lively in there. And then the north stand at Main Road got put in the south stand at was then the City of Manchester Stadium. Then they put a singing section in Kipax Corner, and then they put some more people in Tier 3. So the singers have always been split, really. So we can only kind of really probably fund what we do in our area.
Yeah.
But there is a danger that as the club gets more and more corporate, let's say they need the money, obviously, to meet financial fair play. They're doing amazing job on the pitch. We're spoilt beyond belief. They've got to pay the wages, so the fans have to sort of, pay a bit more. But obviously, sometimes it's a struggle, isn't it? And the club could easily sell 44,000 season tickets to people who just want the status of having a season ticket. When we were 35 years without a trophy, we were still getting 47,000 in that stadium, and they were the guys that had gone year in, year out over the years. And you think that's our best asset, the fans. We used to say we were so loud when we were shit. Just think how good it's going to be when we are winning everything. And now we win everything. It's the complete opposite. it's really difficult to get it going, because the way the club is modelled is around the finances coming in, and if we can't afford to go, they'll sell the season ticket to somebody who can afford to go. And if that person only goes 13, 14 games a season and misses 5, 6 games, they're not asked about the empty seat because they've got the money in the bank. And unfortunately, that's the way it is. If that's the way the whole ground goes, then those day trippers are going to be great for big games, Barcelona. But when it's Southampton on a Wednesday night, remember that game where we won 2-1 last minute against Southampton, 97th minute goal a couple of years ago, I think in the Centurion season. There was only 37,000 in the ground, in a 55,000 ground, you know.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah. So it's where we're going. There's always something we can do, but we like to, if people don't understand as well about the noise levels, okay, so we're just as frustrated as everybody else. When we did the, we were in, a lot of us were in 117, 116, and then the club wanted to put the third tier on, which meant they were going to maybe move the away fans. The fans wanted one end, and the club decided, the police didn't want the away fans moved from that away coach area. So of course they were split across 3 tiers. Because there was the extra tier 3 at the bottom of the south stand, we said, well, can we have that? Because people want to move in there. We want to do the kind of the flags and stuff. Yeah. It doesn't piss anybody off if we do that in there, because anybody who goes in there will know that's what's going on in there. And hopefully we'll link up the noise between 111 to 110 Kippax Corner, the east stand, and this and 116, 117 sort of thing. So that's been a success. It would have been a bigger success if everybody who said they were coming to that area came. The issue was the season tickets were started for about 600 quid, and they put season tickets in tier 3 about 350. It's a lot cheaper to go in tier 3, and a lot of people who were going to come into our area end up in tier 3, 314 to 317, who were trying to stand up and get it going, and they're being told to sit down all the time. Right. And the other thing is only 9 people came from the Kippax Corner side. And you say, well, that's affected the Kippax Corner. It hasn't. There's only 9 people came from that area. Unless they were the 9 most vocal people, it wouldn't have affected that area. So we'd like to do more in that corner as well, but we've got members in that corner, but literally you can't walk around the stadium now. It's blocked off. We used to be able to walk all the way around, but where they put like the tunnel club and things like that, you can't walk all the way around the stadium, and it's difficult. So we can't go across the pitch. We can't do as much as what I do in different parts of the ground. So you can't blame any City fan for having a cheaper ticket. If they want to pay a cheaper ticket, they don't come in our end, that's fine. But I suppose they give us turn a bit of a blind eye if we're stood up in the game, which you can't do in some of the other blocks like 109 and the third tier.
Dante, just a quick one. When you were mentioning about like having the database for the safe standing, I mean, I think that's a brilliant idea. Is there not a possibility of just having the away fans in the top tier, just for a cup game as a trial, and then saying, right, this is our database of people who want to sing. Give them first choice of the south stand tickets. Give these first choice, and that'll get the atmosphere going. Do you not think that's a possibility?
I think what happens is, if you try and dictate too much, then you're setting yourself up for a fall, criticism-wise. So personally, it might be like you might have to release some sensible suggestions. But if you're actually then saying to people, we want some section so people can get in there, it means moving other people, moving season ticket holders, and then they'll say, well, why do we come here every game? Why should we move? It causes a problem between the support base. Sometimes the club is best like so the third tier obviously is given to away fans anyway for a lot of the cup games. A lot of the season ticket holders then come down to the bottom 2 tiers, but we don't force that. That's the club decided to move those people in there. Just as when we had that section in 115 came free, we were able to go in there and nobody was forced to move. It was people moving voluntarily to move in there, do it, because we were aware that when they did moving people from Colin Bell level 2, they made the family stand the big in the North Stand end. You know, that caused a lot of people to have to move seats and stuff like that. Even the Tunnel Club, there's people who've been there since 2003, and they weren't able to go in the same groups together, like one there, two there, and people just fucked it off and weren't able to go back. So if we trying to do things that we're I think it's okay to speak up and try and get the atmosphere going. But if you try and make decisions on behalf of other City fans and it's not a voluntary decision, it could cause problems.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is, like a cup game, sort of like a League Cup match where, say, we'll play Southampton, they're probably not going to bring many fans on a Tuesday night. And then that bottom section where the away fans would be, then put that up for your database from your, you know what I mean? Just that. So nobody's tickets would be there anyway. But there's that. I mean, let's just say there's 2,000 seats in that bottom section of away fans. So there's 2,000 seats for singing City fans to go at. That's what my.
So the fact there's more people involved might be able to have more success with that. It has been tried before, and it's not always worked. And sometimes it depends on the game. We've had it. I think even years ago went to Wigan and stuff. You thought that having some fans in that section would spur the whole thing on, but sometimes it's not always the right game, or it's not always the right fans mentality sort of thing. So people have tried it before, and then it's gone flat as well for no reason. And some people pick and choose the games, the cup games. Some people aren't on every club's game. It's just the way it is. You'd be surprised, you know. We've tried a lot and it doesn't always work. Sometimes it really works well, and then sometimes it just doesn't work at all, and there's nothing you can do about it.
So you did you did a singing section for the Southampton game in League Cup this year, didn't you? And I got tickets in that area, and the club just over-stewarded everything. That's what I found that game. Telling people to sit down. Oh, where's your seat? No, you two can't be sat next to each other. And it were like empty seats and that. And you think, why are you over stewarding it and ruining the atmosphere?
Yeah, I don't know. So the stewarding in South Lower can be a little bit easier than some of the other parts of the ground. You know, there's a lot of things that go on there that don't go in other parts of the stadium. So you got a lot more freedom there than other parts. So in that regard. Maybe there was people doubling up in seats. Maybe there was people who were in the wrong seats. I'm not too sure. But Southampton, you know, it's not the same as a derby game, is it? You know, there's times when they have, like, you know, the police in the aisles in our section. Don't know the answer. The club sometimes will. They maybe want us to be successful. Maybe think we don't want us to be too. We don't want it to grow too much, because then that's a problem for them. You know, you don't know, but yeah.
Do you know what? It's. Do you think we'll ever get to a stage where the atmosphere is going to be like Main Road again?
Oh no, because we're not shit anymore. So everybody who's in that stadium at Main Road was there for the right reasons. And don't get me wrong, there's loads of people here now, but you know, it's just the way it is. All Premiership. If we were relegated, the atmosphere would be, like, you know, a lot better, because I'm not saying we want that. I'm just saying because the people in that ground would be absolute diehards, and even if it's the stadium's not the right design and the roof's too high and the noise doesn't travel as well, you know, it can't be any coincidence that, you know, when all clubs, everyone used to go on about Stoke, didn't they? Oh, Stoke, the atmosphere, this sort of thing. Even they went after 3-4 years, their atmosphere died because they became an established Premiership club. You know, Leicester were great 3-4 years ago. And they've levelled off because they're an established Premiership club. You know, it's just the way it is. It's the Premiership. It's a very corporate thing, isn't it? But and the other thing as well is, you know, it's only recently that we've expanded the fan base. You know, our fan base in the. You know, we saw that at Wembley, didn't we? You know, we're in this Cup semi-final. When we were going down the motorway, there was a lot more coaches coming from Manchester than the United coaches. But the United fans at Wembley seemed to be like about 10 years younger. We had a slightly older fan base, and that must have been to do with the fact that we weren't successful in them over those couple of generations. And, you know, I think we had to fight for every supporter at times. You know, so we're still. coming back from that a bit. You know, there's a lot of fans in the stadium that are, you know, older, and then you've got a lot of new fans. So I suppose there's a number of reasons. Could be a number of reasons. I don't think you'll ever get back to Main Road days now.
No, it's a shame. As my uncle Chris says, we should have never moved. I was like, mate, we need to evolve. We need to move on. And
I actually drove past there yesterday, nipping to town for something. I just thought I'll just see what it's like.
It's horrible, isn't it?
It was a bit weird. There's one little grassy bit, which I think is where it is. There's one tiny little grassy bit.
Centre circle.
Yeah, there's like a Troutman close, and I wonder if people know. I wonder if people are asked or they know what the history of it is around there and stuff, you know. But yeah,
I really hope so. I
hope so too. Yeah, I hope that City also don't abandon the people in that area, because there was a lot of City fans in that area, and you know, I'm not sure what they do if they do go into the schools around there. I hope they do and stuff, and you know, that should still be
it's in the community, Johnny.
It should be a city area, you know. That, you know, hopefully it still is, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, Dante, we've taken up well over an hour of your time, mate. We'll love you and leave you, but we've got loads of information then. I've learned so much about yourself, where it's come from, and what the plans are for the future. So listen, thanks so much for coming on and having a chat to us. And listen, are you coming on again when you're planning your next probably be next season now, won't it, when you're planning your next big push for?
Well, we don't know what's going on. We don't know when fans can get back in the ground, but I suppose as and when things go back to normal, then yeah, let's have another catch up then, maybe, if the invite. And you know, thanks for giving us a fair crack of the whip as well. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, listen, you're more than welcome on anytime you want, pal. Just get in touch with us. You know where we are.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Dan. Cheers, lads.
See you later.
Cheers. Bye bye.